Hello everyone and welcome to this new Odoo Insider session. Today, as you can see, so I will give again this session instead of Antoine.R. And why is it the case actually? It's because it's a very special day today, because it's my birthday. And so, I asked for the most beautiful gift in the world.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. Which was actually, to give an Odoo Insider session. So yeah, that's why I'm here again. And I'm just ready to enjoy your questions. Maybe just a point on the calendar, and what is planned for the next days, next week, regarding the Odoo Insider. Today is a regular Q&A session. You can come and ask any questions you have, as usual. So don't be afraid, of asking, let's say, some obvious questions or whatever. Here, the idea is really to dive into it and discuss that all together. And then, as you can see for next week, it will be the same. So regular Q&A session until at least indeed the 11th of September. And then, of course, we will have the Odoo experience that will take place, especially on Thursday. So, of course, there will not be an Odoo Insider session at that moment. Just to give you some time, of course, to write down your question. Actually, I already saw a few of them here in the chatter. Just a small message about the fact that indeed the Odoo experience are coming pretty fast now in a few weeks. So don't hesitate to take a look here at the website regarding that, especially if you are willing to come to the Odoo experience, or if you are willing to follow it online, because there are a lot of talks that are planned, in the agenda for the 3 days coming, at that moment. And I think it's really a chance for you to get a lot of information about the new coming version. So yes, feel free to go there and make your shopping, and just add everything to your wish list if you want to follow it at that moment. And of course, everything will be accessible online and will be also available on YouTube, if you want to see the replay. For example, if you look for someone called Antoine Rousseau on that page, you will see that I give a few talks actually during the Odoo experience. One of them being be ready for your Odoo 19 upgrade. So that's an example, of course, but just don't hesitate to take a look, because a few topics here can be very, very interesting for you. Perfect. I actually saw that there are already a few questions in the chatter, especially regarding here the accounting. One of them is coming from, and thank you for your message in the chatter, I see it, was coming from Lo Moon who asked about PayPal. PayPal, which is, the electronic invoicing platform that we have in Europe. Because for now, indeed, if I go to the accounting, as I have here a Belgian company, and I type PayPal here, I will have access to this option, which enables actually the electronic invoicing in my database, and allowing me to receive and send invoices, not only by email, not only with PDF, but through the PayPal network, PayPal, of course. And that's indeed a very nice feature that we have. This feature is only actually for now available in Europe, okay, and not for the rest of the world. So here the question that I saw in the chatter was asking, okay, I would like to have it for Singapore, but if you, of course, create a company in Singapore, you will not be able to have that option that is available. I don't know what is the case exactly, because you should know if you have a company in Singapore, then it's not possible, to use PayPal, I think, because it's not the same system, and probably you would need a different one. So I don't know. It's true that in Odoo you are limited, and I think it's not supposed to change, in Odoo 19. Like, this feature is only available for localization in accounting that are part of the PayPal area. But maybe indeed in the future you might have something similar, for Singapore or for some other countries in the world, and so some other localization. But for now, it's true that if you are willing to choose here, if I go to the accounting and I look for a different here fiscal localization, I don't know, here we discussed about Singapore, yes, which is this one. If I save, most probably I will not then be able to choose that option anymore, and that's an expected behavior, and that's then not something that is supposed to change, in the future. So yeah, here if I try again, yes, I don't have the feature anymore. So don't try to, put a random country in Europe, activate it, and then switch to another localization, because you will lose a feature anyway. So it's very important to keep that in mind. now maybe your case is, requires the fact that you should be able to use PayPal, while still being in Singapore. In that case, it probably requires a bit more of context, maybe an investigation to see a bit how it can be done. So yeah, that was it. Maybe just maybe come back to my first localization here. Yes, that I keep it in the chatter. All right, so then I see a question from Atef Saud. What I'm going to do, maybe just to have that, to answer your question, will be that I will activate demo data and then I will read your question. You ask in the invoice view, probably here, in the form or list view, you would like to be able to, when you click on print and send, to automatically select the invoice PDF report templates based on the invoice sequence. And you give an example, saying, for example, if my invoice sequence starts with an R, I should be able to select a specific report that you called report template B. And so that's probably, if you have a different than starting letter, you should get a different report template. Look, having like some kind of mapping in between the start of the sequence and of course here in that case the PDF report. What I'm actually thinking is the fact that most probably, in that case, the sequence is coming from the journal. So maybe I will take this assumption, maybe for that case, of saying, actually, why not using the journal, to be able then to select a specific report template. But you could do the same, most probably indeed, if you only refer to the sequence. But yes, in practice, here the invoice sequence, which is this part, the inv in that case is coming from what we have in the journal settings, in the sales journal in that case, with the sequence prefix. So most probably we can make that assumption that the sequence depends on the journal, so we can make the PDF report depends on the journal. Let's try this, okay, and see how it goes. For that, let's first take a look, because here indeed when I click on send, yes, here, actually let's click on this one. Yes, because of course, so yes, I'm going to select template. Very good, so here I will get my PDF. If I click on send, yes, so here I will get my PDF attached. And indeed, for now, this is a PDF that is selected. Also, something interesting to note is that the PDF is coming actually from the email template, and that we could probably then create different email template depending on the case that we are looking for. Let's try this actually, why not? So if I decide, okay, let's make first, if we go to the invoices, a second report for the invoices. All right, let's duplicate it and let's call this one template 2. Of course, those are the same. We need to change it, but here I will not do it because it's not really the purpose of the question. But so that here we now have two different invoice PDF report that we have. And now what we could do indeed is to say, okay, then I could have two different email templates as well for the invoice sending, which is this one, and then I will duplicate it and say report 2, and in that case, select in the setting the invoice PDF template 2. That in the first one, I get, actually it's not part of the, that's funny, okay. But actually here I could say I want to have the invoice PDF, which is the basic one, and in the one, the second PDF. If I try this, now come back to my invoice, and I click on send, I now have the choice to select which report I want to use. So like either the first one or the second one. Okay, but it's true that it's funny in that case, because it's going to attach whatever happens here, the PDF as an attachment. So, and I mean the original PDF. So probably this case is not going to work. It's most probably because here on the send button there is logic, bringing as well the different different report. Let's try something else then. Let's go back to the email template. Here, let's go back to invoice. Perfect. And I will just create yes. Here, let's remove the base template. I'll just add a context action and try again. If in that case, when I do that. So yes, I need to refresh my page. I don't get it here in the list. Let's see. It should be there. On the journal entry, yes. For each of them. Yes, it's there. Send email. And so in that case, I don't have it. And in the second case, I don't have it neither. Or yes, I will try just to see if it is attached or not. Maybe just not displayed, but maybe when we send it, yes, it's here. Okay, so it works in that case. What I mean is that here I can select, different template, and then it's going to send a different PDF if I decide to select each of them. So here in that case, if I do this, so for now those are the same template, those are the same PDF, but in practice they are different, because I selected a different PDF dynamic report, on the email template. So it works if I do it manually. Now let's do something, as you say, so that I just need to click on send. I don't need to care about which action I want to select, but to make it automatically. For that, what we can do is to create indeed an automation. So an automation, no, actually what I'm going to do is to create a server action. It's probably more easy. So here, let's create a server action, click on new. And there, what I'm going to do is to say, send the invoice on the model journal entry. And here I have the option to send an email. But the problem is that if I do so, here I have to make a choice. I need to select my email template number 1 or my email template number 2. So if I want to add a condition and make it, depending on the case I have, probably I need to add a domain. I need to add a bit of logic here to make it appear. I don't know the way to write it down by heart. Okay, so here if I want to execute some code, okay, let's maybe my screen a bit bigger so that we can all see what's happening. And here, what I could do, is to say, okay, for record, well, let's say for invoice in records, if invoice dot journal ID dot ID equal, and then in that case I could make it, yes, that's a problem. I need to find, of course, what is my journal ID. So in that case, it's the ID 25. I can see it in the URL here. I can also see it if I go there, and in the data, well, it works as well, but I could also go to the metadata here, and it's 25. All right. So here, if I put 25, like this, and then I can actually make, call an action, which is the fact of sending an email. The thing that I said is that I don't know it by heart. So here, what I can do is to look for it, in the code of Odoo, because it's stored somewhere. In that case, when I put my mouse, over the send button here, it's going to use an action, which is a method which is action invoice sent. The thing is that when I click on it, actually it's also going to open a pop-up, and actually I need to do it again and click on send, which is action send and print. Let's try actually. So here, if I go to the code of Odoo and I look for this method that we saw, send and print, in the wizard, let's see what's happening. I don't know if here we will see that an email template is selected by default. Yes, it's not the case. Okay, I'm going to look for something else then. Let's look for action send, which is pretty common, I think, in Odoo, this kind of action. Let's look for this one, for example. Send slots. Yes. So here I have my templates. Send mail. there is something which is called send mail somewhere here with the email value and actually some kind of email, but here is the email layout, which is not exactly the same. Let's look for it, but maybe let's take a different example. What can I have? If I go on the contact, for example, I don't have the contact application installed. Let's install it quickly. Process follow-up, it might work actually. So what I can do is to look in the server actions, process follow-up. Yes, and here I have an action. And let's take a look at what is inside this action. Here I have a different method, which is there, and in that case, send follow-up. Okay, let's look. Send follow-up email. And here I have, again, here a certain method, which is send email. Yes, which is defined there. And here, okay, but once again, it's going to take a look at the body HTML. So it's going to write it down a bit differently than what I would expect. Okay. Okay, let's try again. I mean, we can have probably a case where it's going to work in an easiest way. Let's look at action that I have here. Send an email. Let's look at this one. It's maybe, yes, it's in the community repository. All right, so we have this method here. Rating send request. All right. Okay, so there is here a method that we can probably use by email using a template given in parameter. So that's probably something that we can use here, rating send request. But I mean, here, of course, it's sending a rating. So that's exactly what we want, but it's the same logic. So here I'm in the mail thread, and maybe there is just an action that we can use here in order to send an email directly. Message post. Not really. I think the question is not so complicated to find the answer. It's just that I don't know exactly the value by heart, but here, it's something like, if I need to write it down still to show you, something like send message, and here in brackets, you give the ID of the template that you are willing to use. And in that case, we have two different email templates that we can use in that case. And so we can use it, in that way. And so, for example, if you look at one of them that we created here, and if we look at the metadata, we will get the ID, and that's actually what we can bring as a parameter to send the invoice. And then depending on the journal ID, or depending on the first letter of an invoice, we could probably here send and execute an action to send the message. It's just that we need to find it in the code. I spent a bit of time here, and actually I did not find it, but so I will give it up for now. But maybe if you have a bit of time and we don't have enough questions at the end, we can take a look again. But yes, here the purpose is just to find actually the right place in the code where this kind of function is called, and I think it exists, so that indeed we can then use the specific template to use it directly. We cannot, in that case, use simply the invoice and, like say, if we go to the invoice, here we cannot simply use the the button here, action invoice sent, because I'm not sure. Actually, I did not really look at it, but yes. But I think this action only opens without whatever happens, so we don't really have here an automation regarding. Yes, so here, indeed, it only opens the window, so we don't really have the choice, to make it like this. So, I mean, I will stop it here. What I could advise as well, if we want to make it even easier, is that you can very easily also play with filter, okay? So that you group it for a specific journal, and then you go in the list view and you click on action, and you send the email depending on the model that you have, okay? So yeah, sorry for that, but let's maybe move to the next questions that we move ahead. Okay, so next question. How do I add an accounting date field to a vendor bill using Studio? I don't really know what you mean by adding it to the vendor bill, because actually you have the accounting date that is here by default. I don't know if what you mean is to add it to the PDF of the bill, but actually it's not really up to you to generate that PDF, so it's a bit unusual if you want to add it, to your own PDF that you generate based on the vendor bill. Still, if that's something that you want, that's just a modification to bring to the layout of the report, and for that, you need to go in the report PDF of the bill, which is this one here. Yes, I don't know why I don't have a preview here, but actually it's the original layout. So yeah, probably what happened is that it's maybe the PDF without payment. Let's see, what do we print here? Yes, original bills is going to generate, to bring me, of course, the PDF that I have on the right. Yes, so the one that is coming from my vendor. Of course, if I need to print a different PDF, I need to do it, for example, with this one. And there I get a PDF from my own, which is this one. So that's the one that we need to modify. And if we want to add the accounting date to it, what we can do is to go there, look at, no, not this one then, at this one, for example. Yes, and here if you look at the code, so here we have, let's say, all of the fields coming in let's say the header, like from the bottom here, with the date and so on. What you can see is that it's going to take a look at every time, at the type of my move. Is it, let's say, an invoice or not? And depending on if it is an invoice, customer invoice or a vendor bill, going to adapt or not what is happening, what is displayed in my view. What I can do is to modify, of course, an existing one. I could also create another one to simply add the accounting date to my PDF, for example, like this. Here, so I could say, for example, that I don't want to have this, but I would like maybe to have it as a so bills, move type in invoice, posted, and there to add the field accounting date to it, which is this one, which is simply date. Accounting date, and there date. If I save, now it's added to my PDF, and what I can do is to try it. So if I go back here and print my PDF without payment on my bill, I might see now a third column, which is my accounting date, which is here today actually, and that's the case. So it works, but as I said, it's pretty much an unusual question, because in that case, you don't really have the idea of, it's not really up to you to generate that PDF. So it's a bit strange, but still, you see how to do it, and maybe if it is for a different report, at least you see what is the process. Just an information, here I did it very quickly, in the original report. I would still advise you to create a duplicated version, and work in a duplicated version of the PDF that, you make sure that you still keep, the original somewhere. Still, also, if you want to make it properly, I advise you to do it with an inherited view, okay? So that here, if I directly modify it as I did at that moment, this part of the code might be removed, you know, when I do an upgrade of the module. So it's very important to not put it only at that place, you know, but to create an inherited view for that. Studio can help you for that. If, for example, if I simply do that, I just add a space, what is going to happen is that I will create, yes, this inherited view in my view, and there I can, in that XPath, for example, in where I want, you know, just to add that piece of code that I created to add the field. All right, so that's it for the change of the PDF. Gauthier, can you just go up? I don't know if I missed a question. No, it's okay. Perfect. Next question. How do I prevent a user from entering a quantity of 0 on a quotation line? That's a good case, which should bring, let's say, still some issue. I'll explain you why. Is the fact that, for example, if you create a quote, you add a product to it, you know, like this one, and you add a second one, you know, like this, and then actually what you do is that you simply confirm the order, and that's it. Let's imagine that for some reason you need to actually remove a product. You cannot simply delete the line. If you try to do this, it's going to tell you, no, actually you need to set the quantity to 0. So from time to time, having to, you know, if you want to have a precise order and to just make sure that you don't get some some opened order that are not really reflecting the reality, it's better to maybe in that case keep that option of setting it to 0. Still, if you want to prevent it, it's something that you probably need to code in Odoo. For example, you could say with an automation. Let's try. So, but actually, it's going to be a bit difficult to target. But still, let's try to do it. Prevent change. Prevent 0 quantity on the lines. So what you can do is to make it on the creation and edit, and we modify the line of my order like this. And here the action would be some code that we need to execute. And in that case, we could say for line in record order line. I think that's the name of the field. Let's check. Yes, order line. Like this. If line dot quantity, same, I don't know if that's really the name of the field. To try to check it, I can just open an order and look at the quantity. Yes, it's product UOM quantity, so it's a bit different. And there I could put something like yes, raise error, user error. I think it's something like raise user error. Let's try it once again to see it. I think it's same. It's pretty common to see it. Yes, like this one. You cannot put a 0 quantity. Okay, let's try. So if we try like this and go back to my quote and put now a quantity of 0 and I save, it works. Okay, what I can try is to add a new line, you know, like this. All right, and make it to 0. Will it be the same? No. In that case, it's preventing me to do it. But here anyway, what's happening as well is that I actually have an issue with my code, which is name is not defined. Name with the, I think, yes, let's try to see it. Okay, let's remove that part. And so here if I put 0 again, I think it's not going to work. No, but if I add a line and make it to 0, yes, here it works. It works when I add a line because it's a bit particular, but in Odoo, in the automation rule, let's say, especially the fact of, because here what I say is that I want to execute it when I change here my order line, but changing order line is not, let's say, editing a field in the order line. It's either adding or removing a line, you know, in the line. So the trigger here that I select is not the right one. What I can do is to, it's not so easy because I need still to have a change. I have an ID, but it's probably not really efficient. It's the fact that, yeah, I think it's not going to work neither. Because here, so I changed it. If I put 1, yes, and 1 there, here it works. And if I put 0, yes, it works. Okay, so yes, you need to change the, indeed in that case, just the trigger. But you need to think every time that when you do some kind of action, it means that for every change that you are going to bring to the sales order, it's going to execute this action. So of course it might be interesting for you to do it, but still you need to think about the performance of your database, because it of course adds every time an action more when you decide to edit your sales order. So if you have a lot of sales order in your database, it might be an issue at some point. Still it works, okay, and as I told you, be careful because it might be needed at some point, of course, to put a 0 quantity. So it's really important when you think about that, not to stuck people, you know, at some point, and so that you make sure that that is going to yes, to work in every cases. All right, let's take a look at the next question. How to manage a restaurant which includes the following workflow: inventory, procurement, and accounting. It's a bit a large question, okay? In that case, let's maybe make it, let's say, at a high level. What I think is important for you then maybe is to explore, you know, what is already there in the official documentation, maybe in videos as well, because there is a lot of videos about here let's say in between the link between procurement, accounting, and the point of sale. But it's true that when you look at the restaurant, which is actually a point of sale in Odoo, you need to go through a bit of a setup to make it work. And most of them are part of the settings already. So if you look especially at the inventory stuff, it's actually over there that you make it, that you set it up, you know, depending, okay, from which warehouse I'm taking my stock, from which location, maybe what is the operation type I'm using, you know, to make the change in my stock. Do I want to manage my inventory in real time? Of course, you can also ship the product later if you want, so that afterwards it could, you know, bring some, for example, it could trigger some reordering rule of the product if you want to use a procurement. So it's all a question of setup here, I think, to go through and to make sure that you take care of everything, and then yes, if it's properly done, and it really depends on your flow, it can work. In that case, for a restaurant, it really means about what do you think about the procurement, because most probably you are going to, you know, to have your stock on hand to, of course, produce the goods in the restaurant. So maybe what you mean is that at the end of the day, you need to know which amount has been sold and maybe trigger automation rule, and that, reordering a rule, okay, on the product. And that's indeed something that's going to happen, because when you will close your session of the point of sale, you will reduce your stock available. And so that if it is below the reordering rule that you have, it's going to trigger the replenishment at the same time. So here, yes, this one. So yes, that's part of here in that case, you know, the replenishment and this, replenishment and the management of the inventory. If we now look about the accounting, what's important is to make sure that you set up the right journal, you know, in the settings of the point of sale, especially about the orders, about the invoice. In my opinion, it's also a best practice to have a different journal per point of sale if you have several ones. Okay, so that's an important point. Of course, you need to think about the taxes, about the fiscal position if you want to use several ones, which could be the case, you know, in a restaurant. For example, if people are bringing it as a takeaway, or if they are just staying at the restaurant, you might have some different tax rate to apply. The account, of course, and everything links to the payment as well. So the fact that if you select a specific payment method, you need, of course, to adapt the outstanding account and the intermediary account, maybe also, to make sure that it works. So same, I will not probably go much into the details because your question is, as I said, pretty much high level, but still so that you get a bit the idea of what to pay attention to. Same, I think if we probably go to the Odoo experience calendar as we did at the beginning of the session, you might see that there will be some talks here about the restaurant feature, about what's new, but probably here also. Actually, you have all a restaurant day. In the which date is it? On Thursday. So you have a full day dedicated to restaurant and the way to set it up. So that's most probably where you're going to get most of the answer. It's in a few weeks. So maybe if you want to know more about all the details about this and maybe ask also your questions, don't hesitate to take a look at this. All right. Next question from Olivier Molitor. Hello, will AI be backported in Odoo 17? Sorry maybe to disappoint you, Olivier, but I'm not sure it will be the case because new features, especially when they are so big, are usually not backported in the oldest version, but only for the newest version. So here, AI, all the things related to the AI app and the AI tools are coming mostly in Odoo 19, even if some of them are already released in the intermediary version, in 18.3 or .4. It will be indeed only available for those versions. So if you want to benefit from the AI new features, you will need to upgrade to Odoo 19. All right, next question. How do I highlight holiday in calendar like mandatory leave in time of calendar? So I know what, of course, is the... I need to install, of course, the app, but I know indeed that we have some mandatory days that can be displayed in the time of calendar. Here, the thing is that you are saying about the calendar, probably the Odoo calendar, so the app that is just there. But actually, I see it already because here, for example, my user is on time off, during the 3 last days. So I see it already displayed, and it really depends on which attendees I'm taking a look at. Of course, I'm in the newest version of Odoo here, so it should be, that your holiday are displayed in that version. I don't know in which version you are. If we quickly look maybe at the Odoo 18 database in the runbot, let's see if the behavior is different. So if I go to calendar, no, it's the same. So you should, if you use indeed the time of application, see the time off in the calendar directly. And of course, if you are mentioning about the time of calendar, it's exactly the same because it's the whole purpose of the app. That here indeed you see the time off that you have recorded. If you want to see the time off of your colleague, you can also go in the overview page and see who is there or not. Be aware that here I see, let's say, the time of type because I'm the manager. I'm an admin, let's say, of the time of application. If you are not, if you are simply a user, you only see who is not there, but you don't see which type of time off did they take. So yeah, important to see, important to note. All right. Can we integrate Odoo with Power BI or any other external tools for data analysis? Please suggest a best tool to integrate with Odoo. What I will always recommend you to do is to, of course, try to do it as much as possible in Odoo, because we have that very important app for now, which is a dashboard application in which you can create like your own graphs, KPI, and reporting that you have. If it's not possible to do it and that you still want to integrate it with Power BI, it's not something that is available, out of the box. You don't have a feature to enable to make it work. Actually, I don't think so. You can still take a look. But if I type my BI, we might be a bit too generic. And of course, Power BI will not be there, of course. But yes, so if you want to make an integration, with one of these tool, you might need to be on SH first. Of course, that's obvious, but also on a dedicated server in SH, so which comes with a cost. Of course, you can do it on premise, with your own way to do it. But there, indeed, if you are taking a look at the pricing of Odoo SH, you will see that you have, in that case, a dedicated option, which allows you especially to work then with Power BI integration, or at least to enable it, or any other tools. But in that case, because you can send the data to it. I know it's a case that we already discussed, and that's one of the conditions. Then about the best tool to integrate with Odoo, personally, I don't really have a suggestion about that. I think it really depends on the company, and what they are currently using, especially. If they don't use anything, I would still try, to make it work with Odoo dashboard as much as possible. I don't say it, without experience. I know that some customers can use it, and because most of the time, we can start from the current reporting tool and reproduce it in Odoo with the big added value that it does not require any development, and also that it is updated in real time, based on the value that you have in the database. So yeah, I would explore it first, and then, of course, if it's not enough, try to integrate. But yes, I don't really have a suggestion to make on that point. All right, next question. Do you think possible to separate rights for user on invoices, so that some have the rights to see and manage only customer invoices and other have the rights to see and manage only supplier invoices? Yes, you could, of course. What happens is that when we go and look at the invoices model, and if I activate debug mode, I might see here in my settings, the access right and record rule settings. Access rights are general, is just to know who can do what, in the app. But then what's important in that case are the record rules here, because they are just stating, depending on your role, depending on your access rights, what kind of value do you have access to. For example, the sales user all documents have access, with the following access rights to the things that are only outgoing. So for the invoices, for the customer invoices, or the customer credit note. While if you look there at at the rest of the access rights, they are pretty much generic. Like from the moment you are with accounting invoicing access rights, you see all of them. So you have two choices. Then what you could do is to say, actually I have accounting invoicing group, and then you state that you only see the move type in a specific with a specific type, and here only the out one, a bit similarly to what you have in the sales settings. What you can do is also stating that you want to have maybe an accounting bills group, which will only see then the move type in one specific group of user. If we want to try it, we can try. Actually, let's make a test. Maybe before that, I would just like to insist on the fact that there is also a different way of doing it, which is simply to put access rights on the menu item, if you want to make it easier. So for that, for example, if you go in the technical menu items, and look at the bills, for example, menu, you will see here. Actually, do you have this option again? Because I'm in the new. Yes, here I can. I can change the visibility of that page to make it different based on a certain group. And so, for example, I could say I need to have at least some purchase access rights. Here, I don't have the purchase application installed, but to see that menu. While I could say that I need to have at least some sales access rights to see what is, in the invoice menu. It's very easy to do it. You don't need to create new record rule, and actually it does a job. Most probably it will be enough, for the users at some point. Still, if you want to have maybe more precise changes, you can do it, but you need then to go indeed to the record rules, but first to create a new group of users. So here we have that group. Yes, so which is, let's say, implying that you are part of the role member, but it's also involved in the if you are in invoicing and banks, you are part of that group. Here it's important to not break what you have, in the logic. It's because like you could have two different independent group, or you could still keep the hierarchy. Maybe here what we can do is to have two different group. Yes, let's try. I mean, with a different things access to the vendor bills. That's it. Yes, here I could simply make it technical. It doesn't exist anymore. So here, okay, let's make nothing actually at that place. I just want to see how it looks like now that I'm in Odoo 18.4 because I don't really exactly know. So here, access to the vendor bills. Okay, it's just there in the extra right. All right, so that now what I can do is saying that in my model, I have my record rule by default, which is this one, with the accounting invoicing here that I need to change and create a new one for that group that I created, which will have only access then to the bills. Okay, so let's try to do it quickly. Okay, and for that, I'm just going to duplicate my page because I might need to have access to those data. And what I'm going to do is to open my account invoicing record rule, deactivate it, and duplicate it. Why do I do so? It's because I need to create my own record rule with my own external ID if I don't want Odoo to reset it during the next part. Actually, yes, name, only access to the invoices, make it active, and here I need to add my condition, which is this one. And then, so I have then this rule that has been created, so I can continue invoicing with that condition. And this one is still there. Yes. Okay, it's funny because so there are two rules for the same one. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, so it's important. And so I have this one, and so what I can do is to duplicate it again. But in that case, only access to the bills. And I just make it for the group access to the vendor bills, which is this one. And in that case, the difference is that I have access to the in-invoice and to the in-refund. I know it by heart, but of course you could find it if you go in the filters and see how it works. So for now I have access to the invoices because I'm part of that group, but if I try to access the bills, I will also see it because I'm an admin. But if I want to change my access rights as a user there, and I want to change it to invoicing while not having accessed, I enable here the access to the vendor bills. What will happen most probably is that if I want to access the bills, no, not this one, but the second bill here, I don't see anything because now I have that access that is changed. So you see, so it's a way to work while I still have some bills. And now, for example, if I want to change it again, but saying that I want to access my vendor bill, yes, here, I see it. So that's how you can make it, quite kind of easy. But still, I would still advise you to think about the way of just changing the access rights on the menu because it's easier. But still, if you want, you can make it as I did in that example. Know that you still have access, to the menu when you do a record rule, and you still have access to the creation. So there, it depends. You can change it. You can say, actually, I want to remove the access rights of creating and only maybe view it, or maybe nothing at all. But yes, that's something that you need to think about if you want to change it. All right, so I think it's answered that question. Let's enable it again to the administrator, right? And go to the next question. All right, can we expose the sale order line record linked to an opportunity directly on the opportunity form so that the users can view and edit order lines without opening the quotation? This is needed for NGO budget allocation before an opportunity is marked as one to understand how much money will go to each program. The thing is that let's explore it. So I need to activate actually my I need to enable here my CRM application. right. And yes, so first question that I'm asking myself is, okay, what is the link exactly that we have in between the order and the field? Because here what we see is that the link in between my CRM opportunity and the quotation is given by a smart button, but this smart button is actually a method. So it's just going to compute some things that it's going to show all of my quotations linked to my opportunity. So I'm not sure there is a field, maybe yes, but that links it to the orders. It does. Okay, so here I have my order IDs. It's true that you might have a problem in your question with your question is that because you can have probably more than one order linked to an opportunity. You might say, no, actually I have only one, but still it's possible that you have multiple order links to it. So it's important in that case to be careful because, of course, if you have multiple orders, you need to know what to do. Is it that you still see all the lines? Which one? You know, the one that has been confirmed. Still, it's important to think about that question. But we have the link. So if we have the link, it means that we can, in a way, probably indeed have access to the line. Let's try to make an example that is very basic, but maybe it's going to work. Well, let's say, I don't know. So if we do it with Studio, is it possible? Ah, yes, I know what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is the following. I'm just going to add a one-to-many field. Is it going to work? Yes, but here I might have nothing. No, I do. Okay, great. I put anything. I don't care. Like this. But then what I can do... I could have given it the name. Ah, yes. But now it's too late, but it's no problem. Is to go in the definition of that field, here my one-to-many field, here, and adapt it. Because there I have in my computation, actually it's not written down, but yes, I can, make it work. So how to do that? Now what I know is that I need to put here the fact that it is my sale order line, which is there. But I need also to get my relation field. And to get my relation field, I need to retrieve it on my sale order line as well. So it's not so easy to do it like this. First, we need to do an intermediary step, which is to go in my sales order, in the sales order line, because here I have a source, an opportunity field. I need to add this opportunity field to my sale order line. And so for that, I will edit it, add the related field here, starting from my order, and then to my opportunity. Great. That field, I will call it related opportunity. All right, and so this field, then I can, of course, hide it by default. I need to put it here. So I need to say that my related field is X Studio related opportunity. My model is sale order line. And my compute is order ID, order IDs actually, and then order line. Let's try. Okay, at least I can save it. So if I go back to it, here, of course, the field is not the right one. I maybe need to just adapt my view. Yes, I do. I see it. It works. It's just that maybe... Yes, okay, it works. I just needed to refresh my page. So very nice. You see now that I can actually get access, to all of my list of sale order lines coming from my quotation. So just to summarize, because of course I had to investigate it at the same time. So what I did, that I created the one-to-many field, so that I have it in my interface, but then I made it as a related field of my sale order lines because I added a link on my sales order lines coming from that opportunity. So it's a bit, let's say, technical, but still it's possible. What we have still is that this is a related field. So for now, it's in read-only. We could try indeed to make it editable. So let's see if I go now to my fields and look at my one-to-many field. There, let's try to remove the read-only. Yes, I refresh my page again, but it might be also read-only in my view. So yes, let's open Studio again, select my table. No, it's not in read-only. It's not in read-only, but there it is, not neither. Still, I cannot create a new one. I can delete the line apparently, which is going maybe to work, but I cannot create a new one. Yes, here I can do it. Let's try again. Okay, now it works. So I can here add my products. No, I cannot really. But actually, maybe I can edit my line. Let's see, because that's maybe in that case a bit of the question that you have, because you want to edit the line, not recreate a new one. So let's see if I create first a line here and add it to my quote. It's going to appear there. And here, can I change the quantity, for example? No, not really. Okay, let's try again. No, I can edit. Let's try something here. When I go there in my list view, I would like it to add a record at the bottom. Okay, there I can modify it, put a 2, it works. Great. Can I add a line on my sales order? Description. And actually, I don't have a product. I don't have the product field appearing, so I cannot really choose it. So it's not going to be added because I need to have a product. Anyway, you get the point. Okay, so here it's just a question afterwards of editing the column to get the right one. Let's say it's an ID. You can explore it maybe to see how it goes, but still, you see it's possible to make that kind of link, in between the models. Only in that case, just playing with Studio, but basically creating new fields and adding them to the view. All right. Next question about Swiss payroll. That's something that I like. How can I show the tax source rate on the payslip? Because now the amount of tax is shown, but not the rate. Okay. Actually, I have a database that contains a bit of demo data for Switzerland. So let's go to it. For now, it's in French. Let's maybe just switch it quickly to English. Yes, I cannot do it directly. I need to. Okay, just wait a second then, because I need to adapt a bit my database, but I don't want to change that one. Well, you know what? I will do it. So let's just wait. I'm just going to adapt a bit then my language so that you can see it in English. All right. And there I can go to my payslips. And one of them, I think one of my employees is as a source tax. I need to just find which one it is. No, so it's not Marine, it's the second one. Mark, and in that case, if I look, yes, here. And the rate actually is here, so I have a source tax amount and I have the source tax rate, which is actually in my lines. The thing that you see is that in Odoo, the lines needs to be computed, with a certain, with a currency. So it's not always the best scenario in that case, because of course it's going to be displayed like this. What you could do, okay, if you want to check, what you could do first is to go on the rule, on the salary rule source tax rate, and make it appear on the payslip. But of course it will appear, as an amount, so it's not maybe the best idea that we can have. What you can do is the following as well. But same, maybe for that case I will need to duplicate my database. So wait a minute so that I can just duplicate it and we can work on a testing environment. So all right. And Switzerland. And I need to change this. Okay, great. So it will take a few seconds to be created, and then we can try. But my idea is just to create a new rule, a new salary rule in my database, which will enable me to simply, let's say, display that rate in my lines without having to change the logic, because it's really sensitive. You should not change the rules so easily, in Odoo. But still, in that case, I want to show you how it works. But yes, be careful, because of course it's not something that you should do without double checking and testing a lot. And of course, maybe asking also the question to Odoo, because it's very it's a serious business to do the payslip in a database, and you need to make sure that you make it in the right way. Still here, so I will go in my wage types and there. I actually open Studio, I activated Studio, but I can also do it manually. But here I'm simply going to enable in my list view the fact that I can create. Okay, so here, actually I don't need to edit, but okay, let's still make edits so that we can change it. Now that I have this, I can create a new rule. So what I want to do is to get back to my payslip of Mark, look at the rule that I wanted to make appear, which was my rate here, and the position of that rate is this one. So here what I'm going to do is to create a new wage type, which will be my tax rate, that I will put as a technical wage type. I don't need to put a code here, but here I need to do it. Tax rate custom, let's say. And then put here the same sequence that appears at the same position. I put it in the right structure, and here what I'm simply going to do is to put some Python code in the rule. Result is equal to 0. I don't care about the result, but here what I want is to maybe change the result rate and make it appear to the result rules of that one. So here, ES rate. And this one I want to make it appear on the payslip, and that's the case. I did it now, so what I can do is to come back to my payslip, compute it again. Now I have 55 lines, and one of them will be my custom one, which is yes, here, there, this one, tax rate. And you see that the tax rate now is part of my rate column. So not anymore my amount column. So it appears now as a percentage. What I can do then is to print my payslip to see what it looks like this. So if I zoom in a bit, so it is in French, but still here, okay, we have the tax rate, but actually we don't see the one that I have added. It's maybe because of my layout at that moment, or most probably. So maybe I need to change my layout as well to make it appear. Did I lose it? Yeah. Or maybe because my amount is 0. Let's just try to put the result equal to 1 to see what happens, if it's appearing or not. No, it's the same. Okay, so it's probably meaning that in the way for now the report is generated for the Switzerland ELM, which is this one, I think. No, or is it? Yes, it is. Okay, it's this one. Most probably it's going indeed to look, at my rule and only display the ones that are part of a certain group for each lines. So is there a condition somewhere? Maybe I need to add a CH code. I can try this. Yes, let's try that. Rate custom, let's say. So I could type some digits, but I think it's going to work if I do it like this as well. So if I do it again, no, it's still not there, so it's not the only thing that I need to change. Yes, so here's going to look at code. So it's the thing is that what we see here is that the way the report is generated is very formatted. Same, it's logic because we have a localization for Switzerland, so we need to make it, let's say, very robust and consistent. In that case, the conditions that we have are preventing me to add a new line, a new line coming from nowhere in the report. So it's indeed important to be careful to that. I'm just thinking, like, yes, because it's going to look at code starting from 5,000 and going to 500, well, this amount, let's say. So let's put maybe one value like this and see if it changed something. If it does not, it means that you need to modify the PDF. It's not a big deal, but once again, I will maybe not do it here because it takes a bit of time to do it. And the logic is simple, you just need to make sure that it's appearing. Okay, it works in that case, perfect. So you see now the percentage is appearing. I can of course put the amount back to 0, okay, because it's not really making sense that I have a 1 at that place. So here I can bring it back to 0. And now if again I decide to, no, I need to compute again and print. Yes. Ah no, it has been removed again. Okay, so I need to have a value. All right. If I put, I like to try something. If I put like 0.001, is it going to work? Because if I do that, and I look at my value, tax rate. Yes, it's there, so it's still appearing at 0. As 0 while I have a value, but it's so small that it does appear. Well, maybe it's not going to work as well, but no, it does not. So I need to have a value, but okay. I mean, you get the point here. What's as important is just to show you that part. You need to modify the report. Okay, so to modify a report, once again, you need to be very careful to make it with a lot of testing and validation, and then you can indeed maybe duplicate it and make it work by changing the way the view is loaded. All right, so that's it for that question. Okay, next one from Emmanuel again. Another one, how to transfer a negative line of an order, discount line for example, to an invoice. If we transfer an order to invoice, only positive lines will be transferred. I don't know what you really mean by transferring an order to invoice. Like, is it creating an invoice from an order? Because in that case, negative lines will come as well. Or is it something else? Like, it's not so clear. Because of course here, I mean, I get that quote that I saw in which I could add a discount. Let's say with a negative amount of 20, like this. Let's imagine that for some reason I am able to validate my delivery and then create my invoice. I will get both, so even my minus my value. So I don't know what happens. If you mean by transferring what we did just before, which is adding a new one-to-many field on the invoice with the sales order lines, in that case, I would not see why, it's not appearing. So yes, I don't know. Maybe you can, give me a bit more of details regarding what you mean by transferring an order to invoice. Because if it is what I just shown, it should be, that your negative lines are, yes, part of the invoice as well. All right. Next question from Ricard. How to connect, merge iPhone Outlook calendar to the calendar app, so that when you create a log there for yourself, it will add it to your Outlook iOS calendar. Basically, how to merge calendar to Outlook without the Azure authentication. Well, about iPhone, there is nothing standard. Okay, there is nothing that is part of the native solution of Odoo. The only two integrations that are part of the standard are the Google Calendar and Outlook synchronization that you have here. The thing is that when I activate the Outlook Calendar synchronization, I'm not sure I need to. Let's see actually. I don't know if I need to activate as well the Azure authentication. Let's try. Let's try to take a look, because here of course I need to provide some IDs, and to know what I need to do, I need to go there. And here, yes, you get the different IDs and the key, and then you set it up. You know, I think those are two different stuff. I'm not sure you need. Let's try. No, here just enable synchronization. Yes. No, I think it should be good. Just follow here the steps of the documentation about Azure. You know, it's two different things. I'm not sure you need to at the same time enable here that option. Yeah, the sign-in authentication. No, I don't want to translate it. Here, so yes, those are two different topics. Like you can enable one without having to enable the second one. So here you don't need to enable the fact of, let's say, of authenticate with Microsoft Azure to have access to the calendar. So try this. Maybe you already tried, so tell me in the chatter if it works or not, but I'm not sure you need to enable both. All right, next question from Arnaud. Can you explain what new features have been added to Odoo's website module in the latest version, especially around website building and e-commerce integration? I'll say I'm not really up to date on that point, so that I don't really know exactly what are all the new features that are coming, but something that is interesting, because when you are like me, you know, you don't know what are the new features. What you can do, and I will show it now because I need to look for it first, but is to go on LinkedIn. I know it's a very obvious answer, but if you are following Fabia Fincars on LinkedIn, you might have seen that there are now some, let's say, videos shared online about the rolling release. You know, all of the features that are brought, you know, for each of the intermediate version. And so let's see if I find it back, and then I will share my screen so that you will see it as well. Yes, a release note, that's what I was thinking of. Yes, perfect. So here, if I go to the page of Fabia Fincars, I showed that page because I know, you know, that he's probably going to do it every time, but you can also go to the YouTube channel of Odoo, you will see it as well. But here, you know, you get a very short video, 10 minutes, showing all the new features added, you know, per version. And that's something that Odoo is going to do more and more. Like you have both, you know, if you look at the release note of Odoo, of course, and if I do it like this, it will not work. You have a page only focused on release note, and the fact that for each version, then you have, you know, a bit of a detail. But I think, yes, you have also some intermediate release note with the videos that are shown, and also some written content. So here, if I look at the website, here, you know, those are, well, here this is about appointments. You know, for example, insert appointment calendars on external website using iframes, or you can indeed go here and see what has been brought, you know, to the website. Yes, we have a bit of improvement here on the profile of the probably portal user. If we look at the e-commerce, let's see if there is something. And so yes, there are. So there are all of these changes that are brought. So I will not explore it with you, but just keep in mind, you know, that you have this kind of release note that are more and more provided during the year that are showing what is going to happen. We are, so, you know, if you are, let's say, a bit up to date with the new versions of Odoo, you need to know that we are now in the 18.4 version. In 1 month, the new Odoo 19 will be released, but we can assess, you know, that most of the features are already released in 18.4. So if you just watch the videos of the release note for each of these version, you might then have the whole knowledge about how it's, what is planned, you know, for the website. But of course, some big news are coming for the Odoo experience, but still, it might be already a good idea to take a look at this. Wait. Next question. How can we customize a future forecast for cash outflow using accounting reports. The thing is that when you look at the cash flow statement, because in that case, that's probably here what you are mentioning, you might see indeed that the cash flow statement is the following. So with, let's say, a predefined layout, something that you can access actually quickly with this button to see how it is done, but you will see that this report, especially, maybe in a bit different way than the balance sheet, for example, is mostly coded in the backend. So you don't really have access from that interface to the way the lines are computed, and so be able to change it. Therefore, what I suggest you to do is not really to try to customize the accounting report, because if you want to do so, you might need to do it with development. You know, it might take time, and you will probably at some point get the result that you expect, but it will be probably kind of expensive. What is happening, is that we get this question a lot. Like, we have people asking us, oh, we'd like to get a cash flow statement in Odoo, following some rules that they have, with some specific criteria that they want to follow. And it's true that one of our options today is to bring them to the creation of a dashboard again. So I come back to this as I discussed earlier. But the dashboard is something that you can really customize from scratch, and so that you can indeed display here all of the information that are important. So I would suggest to explore that part. And in that case, when we want to create a dashboard from the accounting, and especially in that case, the cash flow, what you can do is to take a look at the journal items. And simply here, for example, in the pivot table, we can group it by, type of account. We can group it by journal, whatever. And there, of course, looking at a specific period of time, whatever we want, and just indeed, at some point, get the value that we want. We can insert, of course, different type of values, for each different part of the report. But then we have the possibility indeed to just take those values and customize our report. That's exactly the same idea as you would do if you were doing it in Excel. Okay, the same point. What is important is just to know what is the starting point. Most of the time when we are discussing about accounting reporting, we start from the journal items. It's let's say tricky, it's the best answer that I can provide. So yes, think about that, but it's, in my opinion, more easy to create a dashboard, starting from the journal items to get the result that you want, than modifying, the cash flow statement, because it might indeed be more challenging, and you will need to develop to that. For that, you cannot do it simply from the interface. All right, next question from Ricard again. In the project app, is it possible to set all users to be able to create project and task and edit them, but at the same time disable visibility to certain private projects? And you mentioned that basic settings don't work. Example, I'm admin for project BU. I'm admin for the project. BU, which is a user, is an admin as well. If we're able to see projects are set as invited user only, even when these settings we all see. So you seem to say that indeed, if we are part of the project user, is a project admin group, we have access to all the projects, even if they are private, and we are not part of that project. Let's check quickly. Maybe try it first to take a look at here the record rule. And indeed, we see that the project administrator have access to everything, because 1 is equal to 1. We don't really care about here the privacy. While indeed, if we are simply a user of the database, what we have is that we can only see the project with the visibility, depending on the privacy settings, of the project. What I mean by privacy settings is the fact that when you go on a project and take a look at the settings, you have here the possibility to change the visibility. So to make it for only for all the internal user, or to only some specific invited internal user. What's a bit surprising is that for your question, you just mentioned, okay, I want people to see all the projects and to be able to create project and task for the project that are not private, of course. If we look again at the access rights, yes, it's true that for now, only the admin have the right to create, write, and delete. And if I look at the record rules, yes, I think it might be easy. What you might just need to do in that case, could be to modify the access right of the project user group. For that, I'm going to inactivate it and duplicate it and activate it again. And this one, I'm going to call it custom access rights user, and saying here that actually they can create and write. That now, if I'm just changing my access rights on my user and make it as a simple project user, all right, and I go to my project app, I still have the option to create a new one. So I can go here, new project. Very good. And I can create a new task. It seems fine. Okay, so it works. Can I delete it? No, probably not. So here, if I look at the task I can, of course, but on the project level, I cannot, I think. So here, if I look, yes, I don't have the option to delete, of course, because I don't have the access rights. So that might be as easy as this. Okay, so changing here the access rights of the user group, let's say, so that indeed they are able to create and edit. Maybe not delete, indeed, so that you at least keep, that rights only for the admin. But it might be indeed interesting to do it like this. All right. Next question. Can we have an option for time off to also include weekends? For example, when someone takes time off, then weekend days are counted on that time off. It's not, let's say it's technically possible to do it if I tell you to change the working schedule, so each of your employees based as let's say a working time based on that working schedule. You could say, actually, my working schedule is starting from Monday and go until Sunday. Okay, so that indeed at that moment when they take time off during the weekend, it's going to count, as a time off that will be reduced of the working time. I don't know what happens, in your case, like do the employee work during the weekend? Probably yes, or maybe probably the working schedule is changing, during the week. So it really depends, it's important to make an analysis to understand exactly all different cases that could happen. But probably here what I could think, about regarding your case is, okay, let's just make a working schedule, for each of the day of the week, so that afterwards, when you are, let's say, on so let's maybe make an example so that it will be easier. So so let's say full week schedule, and then here I need to set it up. So Saturday. Great. So here from 8. But it will take a bit of time because I need to do it for each of them. Also, I made a copy because it's important to not modify against the standard one, because the standard one might once again be refreshed, during the next update. So important to recreate your own case in that case. Okay, Saturday afternoon. Let's make it for Saturday. I mean, you will get the point if it works. Like this, and from the 17th, perfect. And then on my employee as Mitchell admin, what I'm gonna do is to set. I don't have an employee. Okay, so let's go from the user, and oh, it's funny. Yes, I do. Okay, but it's what Antoine.R is, of course. And so here, what I can do is in the work section, I can change my working schedule. Where is it? Because it changed a bit. Now, probably it's not in the personal section. Yes, it's in the payroll one. And here I can make it as a full week schedule. When I do so, now if I refresh my page and go to the time of application, I will see that here, it's not so obvious because actually both my Sunday and Saturday are displayed in blank. I mean, let's try to put the time off, maybe a sick time off from Friday to Tuesday. I have 4 days. 4 days because they count Friday, Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday. So it doesn't take into account Sunday, but it works for the Saturday because I made so that I worked on that period of time. So it works. So that's an option, okay, so that you deduct the weekends. But of course, it might have some let's say some side effect, because the working schedule is also maybe what's going to impact the way you timesheet, the way you compare your working schedule with the timesheet, or the way you compare your working schedule with the planning. So it's important to think about it, okay, and try about each of the situations that you may have and see exactly if it answers all the cases. But still, it's possible to work like this. Okay, next question from Abir. Good morning. I have created an assessment app and related it to HR applicant. So the assessment assigned to interviewer to evaluate the applicant. Okay, so that they see the assessment. Okay, so that they can probably fill in the assessment while they are interviewing the applicant. Good. I want to send email to interviewer with link to the application button. So they will open the application form email button and review the applicant and fill the statement. Can you provide how to link, or the link code will from front end email template? I need to know how to add button link in email. All right, okay, so first, I guess that the interviewer is a user of Odoo. Okay, that's my assumption. If he's just a portal user, if he's not a user at all, he might not, get access to the record. Important to think about that first. Now, what we have is that usually when you create, something in your database, can I try it? It's a bit complicated because I'm in a database and I actually reached my email limit, so I maybe not be able to try. The thing is that, for example, when I create an activity on a record for myself, and get it, for example, and actually we not see it in my email. But for example, when I go to a task in my project app and get assigned to it, I usually get a notification, telling me, you have been assigned to a record, and I have a button to open that record. So it means that when I modify my assignee field, I send an email for stating that the person has been assigned. Okay, so is it part of the subtype? No. This email template, I'm not sure it exists, okay, because it's not something that you really... let's take a look. Project, no. Task, neither. So it's not part of the email template. It's something that is quite generic. Now it is sent for some specific action, to the corresponding user. I have actually a lot of different examples. For example, when you create a sales order, like this, and send it to the customer. When you look at the preview, here you have, let's say, a simple content. But when you click on send, actually your email will contain something different. So here, no, I just want to take a look at the list of emails. Yeah. If I look, I get here a button, showing the corresponding sales order. Okay, because my email contains a header and a footer that are most of the time coming from a view, which is my notification layout. Mail notification layout, something like this. No. If I look at powered by Odoo in the view architecture, I might find it. Yes, this one. And in this, in this body of my view, what I have is that I have this button access that is going to, let's say, add the URL of the corresponding record, in my email template. So, most probably, if you then, I don't know if you tried actually, but what you can do is to see if this is that view, that mail notification light that is used when you send your email to interviewer, to the interviewer, yeah, about the assessment. Because if it is the case, you will get a button to open the corresponding record. Okay, a bit as you have with the sales order, as I showed, a bit as you have when you are assigned to a task. The thing that I don't know is that I don't know if when you do it for a custom model, it works or not. Actually, why not trying? We can still quickly create an app. I mean, you don't need to. You can simply create a new model. Okay, assessment. Let's try. Let's keep your example. Great. And what I'm simply going to do is to create a many to one field with, in that case, the user. Okay, it's because I guess, as I said, that the interviewer is a user of the database, which will be the interviewer. All right, what I'm gonna do is to, yes, set it not to mission admin because it's myself and it might not work, but what I'm gonna do is to create a second user with an email address like this. Oh, it's funny. Is it going to stuck me or not? Yes, and I don't know if it's because of my limit. Okay, that's. I don't like to say it's a bug because it's not always the case, but here indeed it might be a side effect. Okay, it works if I do it like this. But yes, you should not be stuck, if you reach your email limit to create a user. It's just indeed that the person will not get, in that case, an email. Anyway, so here I was still able to create it with a different email address. What I'm going to do then is to go back to my assessment menu, link it to second user, and I'm going to create very quickly an email template. Fill the assessment that I will put here as well. I will make it in the assessment model. Hello, like this, and in the email configuration, say that I want it to be linked to the emails. I don't know the name of my field, of course. I need to take a look at this. Yes, okay, great. It's probably XStudio interviewer. Great, so here XStudio. Email formatted. Okay, so that now if I click on send message, extend it and use this email template, and I send it. Okay, for now it has not added my user email. I met XStudio interview, which is XStudio interviewer actually. So let's try again. No. I need to take a look at an example. Yeah, of course I was just too not let's say precise enough. Of course I need to write it in a specific way. It's obvious. Let's take a look back at our assessment here and just make it like this. And so what I'm going to do is to say XStudio interviewer dot email formatted. Great. And this part I don't need to have it like this. Great. Now if I try again, send message and look here at my email. Great, it sent it to the user. I can send it. And now if I look at my email, which has been sent out, yes, you see, I have the button. So it's already there actually. So what you just need to do is to, so it took a bit of time, but you saw if you create an email template, it's going to use the view that we saw about the header and the footer, and so to add a button to open it. If I click on it, I'm brought to the corresponding record. So it's as easy as this. Of course, as I said, the only constraint is that you need to be a user. You cannot be a portal user to open it, because if you are a portal user, you don't have access to the record. But except for that, it should be fine. All right. Next question about the point of sale. Can we generate invoice directly? Yes, you can. So it's a pretty straightforward question that you can try directly. But when we go to the point of sale and let's say open the furniture shop like this, if I add a product and I identify my customer because I need to identify him to be able to create an invoice, and I look at the payment, I can here check the invoice, which will actually directly, if I validate it, create the invoice both in my database and in PDF, that I can open it and print it if I want. So that's as easy as this. Okay, so you have this option when you just proceed to the payment to check the invoice box. Note that starting from 18.3, I think, something like that, if your customer is a company, so if it has the company type, on the contact, this checkbox will be checked by default. Okay, so when you will proceed to the payment. While if it is a customer in a person, so just a B2C customer, you will not here have the checkbox checked by default, but you can still do it if you want. All right. Next question from Vigilantia. Hello. Small question. Please, can you explain us how is working SEPA direct debit through Stripe? Is it fully compatible with the payment terms? In fact, we would like to invoice the customer directly at 30 days, for example. What if we have selected through Stripe? Will it be invoiced 30 days later on his account? Maybe I don't know about that feature, so I'm just going first to look at what we have in the accounting app regarding that, as you mentioned, SEPA through Stripe, because I don't know it for now. If I enable SEPA direct debit, okay, so now I don't have anything, but let's try to look at this and here, see if I have a mention of Stripe. I don't. It's just that I don't know about this feature that you are mentioning. I don't know if you, let's say, if that's something that you guess, or if something that you have as an option, available online, or if it's just because, you work with Stripe, and Stripe allows the user to use that option. I don't exactly know. I don't know neither if it's, let's say, on the website, on the e-commerce that you are talking about, or is it from the backend. But what happens is that when you are, so when you enable this option as we did, and you go to a customer invoice, then you can, so not on the one that is paid, of course, but on one that is still to be paid, you can mark it as pay. You can mark as pay, and then select the SEPA direct debit, and here you need to select the date. Okay. For now, it's select the 28th, so today. Let's try to see if I create a new invoice with a specific payment terms in 50 days, if it's going to take that date. I don't know, so we need to check. So here, if we look and confirm it, and click on pay, and look here, the SEPA direct debit, no, it still takes the date of today. So it's not going to adapt the date based on the payment terms that you select. Okay, in that case, it was even 30 days, so even longer. So it's still going to take the date of today, so that you need to adapt it to know exactly when you are going to do it. So that's without using Stripe, okay? But that's, the standard behavior. And the fact is that also to make a direct debit, you need to have a mandate available. And something in it that you need to generate for the contact. No. It's there. You need to create a new one and make it as an active, to make it work. Knowing that most of the time, let's say making it validate once, we make it validated for the next ones as well, so that's something that you need to set up manually for the first time. Anyway, so let's say the standard behavior would assume, that you don't have first a link with the payment terms, and second, that you need to then, make it, to select the date yourself, and then to create the file to be sent to the bank like this. The only thing that I cannot help you with, is that thing that you mentioned with the through Stripe question. Yes, I might need to have more details about what you are mentioning, to see exactly if there is something that we can do about this. Okay, and actually, I think I got the answer from my previous question when I said about the time of application. The fact of taking time off during the weekend so that it is still deducted. and you say, okay, but actually they don't work during the weekend. It's a bit then, in my opinion, irrelevant is the fact that your employees, if they are a bit smart, they can simply then don't put any time off during the weekend. So it's a bit strange, because if they don't do it, they are still not going to work in the weekend. But what you say is, okay, but if they do it, they are going to be deducted from their time off. So it's taking the assumption that the employees might make errors then. If that's really the case, indeed you will be a bit stuck, because in the Odoo is not something that is, let's say, that is folk that way. So yes, you need to either make a choice to make Sunday and Saturday, as a period of time where they are working, or you need to make it as a period of time where they do not work. But if they do not work at that period of time, as you mentioned, time off will not be deducted from that period of time as well. But I think maybe I'm just confused about your question, but you might agree with me that in that case, what they can do is simply not putting, any time off during the weekend. And actually it will be the same for them. I don't know. Maybe it depends on your, your company policy. But yes, let's say that it's not something that is fully expected in Odoo. All right. Next question. Hello, I have a question about forms. We run a food distribution company, and every month we need to submit return forms to our brands for bad or expired food, included batch lot information. Right now we manage this in Excel, but it's time consuming. Does Odoo have a way to automatically generate or autofill these forms and sheets? Okay. I have an idea, but still, I don't know if it will be. I think it will be a bit complicated. I guess in your case, you have to respect that format. The format of the form of the brand. You cannot probably just give your own file, because of course what I could tell you is that you just make a return, in your inventory. Do I have inventory installed? Yes, I do. Like one that is already done. Okay, let's take this one. Then you can make a return, select the goods that actually are bad, as you said, or expired food, so that you can return them to the supplier. And then here print the record, and then let's say send it to the person. Here, the form, first it's true, I don't know if it's a form that is online or a form that is written, okay, or that you need to print. What I had in mind, but actually it's not even available here, but is to sign the document. Use a sign application to fill the information, but it's complicated, because if you do it like this, you might get an issue. You might get an issue with, let's say, the fact that your information are part of the lines. They are also part, because here you have several models. You have the stock quant, you have the stock move line, where the information are stored. Because you can have for one line several lots and serial number that are part of it. So getting an efficient way of taking those information and adding them to a PDF is really not obvious, especially in the sign application. So I would say no. Okay, I don't think there is an easy way to do it. In Odoo. But actually you said that you manage it in Excel. I just don't know, Porty, about the format that you expect. Like, is it something just that you want to export, and that's pretty easy, if you want to do it in PDF or even Excel file, that's easy, because you can make a return, as I said, to get the information. But if your question is, I want to respect a specific format to fill a form, maybe a form that is online from Odoo, it's more complicated, and that's something that you need to investigate, and maybe develop to make it work. So yeah, it's a bit. I'll say I might need a bit more of context if I want to make it work. But yes. But tell me if you want to react, and give more details. No problem, you can do it in the chatter. All right. Next question from Hassan. Could you explain how to customize menu level and sub-menu level access rights? Yes, sorry, I was reading another question. So, okay, could you explain how to customize menu level and sub-menu level access rights in Odoo Online? Indeed, so I'm in Odoo Online for now. What happened is the following. So, what is a menu first in Odoo? It's firstly the app. So all of the apps here are actually menu items. For example, if I look at my planning app, it will be here, my planning menu item here in my list. And then all the menus that you have inside of the app will be some sub-menus of that main menu, which is a planning menu. And so first you have, let's say, the schedule in that case, and then by resource, so you know a path leading to the corresponding menu. You might have also in some more advanced application like accounting, in the reporting, some section. So here, in order to access the balance sheet, for example, you need to go from accounting, reporting, statement report, balance sheet. So you know you can go up to four, I think, stages. Maybe not more than that, but I think 4 is the maximum that you can get. Then what happens is that indeed the groups, the subgroups, the submenu, let's say, of the main menu inherit from the access rights of that menu. Which means that here, if I want to, let's say, edit the access rights of that group, I can. But whatever happens is going to inherit from the access rights of the reporting group. So if I look a bit more into details at that specific case, maybe. So the reporting section, here I have a lot, of course, of them, but of the accounting, here, I will see that it's only accessible by people having access to the accounting invoicing and accounting read-only. But then I have some submenu like the statement report. And here I see it's accounting read-only as well. It's interesting because it means that I have a difference, regarding the child ID and the reporting. Because of course here I lose one group, which means that my accounting invoicing will actually not be able to access that submenu here in my list. If I open another one, management, for example, here I see that I have no visibility at all. It doesn't mean that everyone can access it. It means that as long as you have access to the parent menu, you have access to it, and that's then how it works. It becomes interesting because you might see that some apps don't have any condition at all, on the visibility, while you still have access rights on this app. One of them is time off, for example. If I go to the user Mitchell admin, you will see that I can define on my user what are the access rights that I have on the time off application. Like, is it nothing? Is it manager request? Or is it administrator? I could be confused because I could think, okay, but if I leave it empty, maybe I won't have access to the time of application. But actually I do. Why? Firstly, because I have access rights and record role in the model, clearly. But first also because the menu item of the time of application here is visible, for any user in my database. So for any people, which is part of the role member, which is just an internal user in Odoo in 18.4, then all people have access to it, even if they don't have an access right linked to that. And for example, the management one becomes only visible for the time of responsible group. So yeah, so it's just indeed interesting to note. It's I think one of the most easiest way, to edit access rights, in Odoo Online, especially because you can just simply play with this visibility field, either let's say on any of the menu that you have. It doesn't mean that people don't have access to the data. Okay, it's still important to note that the data could still be found, for example, from another model. Like I could, for example, remove the fact that I have access to accounting, but I can probably go from the sales and take a look at my invoice from there if I still have access to the record. Okay, so changing the way the menu is displayed and who has access to it may not be enough in some cases, because people can still get access to the data if there is a path to have access to it. But yes, so it's still possible. But yes, think about it, maybe depending on the case that you want to address. All right. Next question from Akshat. I am thinking to integrate Odoo and Zoho to make a cross-breed service between two apps. Use CRM from Zoho and use manufacturing from Odoo. So data flow will be in one direction only. We will start from Zoho CRM to make sales order and then pass that sales orders to Odoo via integration in order to complete the process of manufacturing and update that to Zoho invoice app. Okay, so it's still in two directions, but Yes, I mean, it's in one direction, but you have indeed some transfer of data, of different data, of course, from Zoho and Odoo. If we do this, I'm worried about multiple data entry and flow of the process. Would using two different apps cause problems? Internet says we can do it with third-party integration, but is it really doable? I'm looking at an example that we can have, in standard for that. Is there somewhere in standard of Odoo where we receive information first and then send it back? I don't really know. I don't have an idea in mind like this. I'm not sure it's a problem. I think indeed that you can do it. When they say third-party integration, what they mean is that maybe there is somewhere in the Odoo app stores or in the OCA, an app that is already doing that job. For example, here if I look for Zoho, yes, there are some integration that are available, but of course we need to know what it is doing, and for that we need to investigate a bit more and see exactly how it works. So that's one point. For example, here I'm not sure they mentioned about the manufacturing. So that's what we hear about. It's a third-party integration and the fact that we can do it. Oh, it's funny. Good. Here I'm just losing my battery because it's not charging here. Can you? I don't know if there is a charger somewhere. Ah, yes, there.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good.
Okay, sorry for that. No, so I think it's okay. So you can do it. The thing is that indeed you will need to make, in my opinion, the integration in two steps, with two different integration. The first one being in the one direction from Zoho to Odoo regarding the sending of the sales order. Second one from Odoo to Zoho just for the invoice part. It's just that it's a bit surprising to me that you mentioned the fact that the manufacturing flow is having an impact in the invoice. Maybe it depends, on what you consume. Maybe I don't know, or yes, maybe the time that you spend. I don't know. Maybe indeed it's going to have an impact on the invoice. What's important is just to have a clear idea indeed on what you want to transfer from one direction to another. It's important as well to keep in mind that you about all the scenario, of that. Meaning, okay, very good. I start from Zoho, I send information to Odoo. Is there any scenario where I would need to maybe adapt the sales order in Odoo or not, and then bring it back to Zoho? Or a different case, is it possible in Zoho that I update a sales order that has been sent to Odoo so that I update it afterwards? So, it's always important to think about that kind of cases because it might happen, and you might need indeed to think about the fact that maybe it's not only in one direction. Maybe you can have some different interactions in between the apps for one of these steps. Except for that, indeed, that's important. So it's just a question of updating versus creating, and the external ID can be used for that, especially so that you are sure that you don't create a new sales orders, if you don't want to. About the rest, no, I'm not sure, that the worry should be about the two apps to be used. I think the most important point here is to just focus on the clarity of the integration and how to make it work. All right. How can an inventory user raise a purchase requisition in Odoo Online if some stock has run out? Very good question. That's a very good question to be asked. That's something that you can do as an inventory user, as you mentioned, when you first probably set up your product. Let's create a new one. So I will call it table. Let's say any rest tables that I recognize it easily, like this. So for now I have 0 quantity, but I want to track it, of course, by quantity. And let's imagine that I want to have, let's say, to be always maybe in between 10 to 20 quantity in my stock. That's a reference. I could make it to 0 just to be, in a make to order logic. Okay, here I just want to have to be in make to stock to get some stock in my warehouse. So for now, what happens is that indeed I have some quantity that is lowest that here my reordering rule. What I can do also is to change my reordering rule to make the trigger as manually, because in that case I would like my user to raise it, to define by themselves if they want to purchase something and in which quantity they want to make it. Finally, I need to explain to who I'm willing to buy it. And actually here I don't have the purchase application, so I will need to install it first. Of course, so that I'm able afterwards to define which will be the vendor I'm going to purchase this product to. And so if I look again at my product list, NRS, in the purchase tab, I can add a vendor. Let's imagine Azure Interior, okay, which makes a price of 10. So once it is set up, as I said, as an inventory user, so let's imagine that I have only access to the inventory app, I can always take a look at my stock from the operations and replenishment. Stock meaning also the comparison in between my stock and what I want to be in terms of stock in my warehouse. Okay, for example, here I'm lowest than what I expect, so I can take a look at my replenishment. And I will see here that my NRS table product has an unknown quantity of 0 and forecast of 0. And if I go to the right, I will see indeed that I have here some min and max quantity. And for now, I should order 20 if I don't modify anything. Note that I can modify it as well. Here I could say, no, but actually I wanted to purchase 50. I can change it if I want. And I can come back to the original status by refreshing it. Let's imagine that my inventory user wants to purchase 50. Then what he can simply do is click on order here. Yes, but here I need to first make sure that my product is properly configured. For that, I can go back to my product and in my inventory check the fact that I want to buy this product to replenish it. Of course, if you just leave it empty, you don't have a strategy, to replenish it. I go back to it, and now if I click on order, you see I create from the inventory app a purchase order in draft, okay, which is still a request for quotation, but so that maybe the person in charge of the replenishment sees what is the need in terms of stock and so can adapt it, if he wants to afterwards. Thank you for all the messages in the chat, about happy birthday. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Okay, so yeah, so that now that is done. Okay, so probably it answers your question in that case. All right. Next question. I just want to know how we can configure the weight machines for different shops in point of sale. Weight machine being, I guess, weight scale. The thing is that when you go in the point of sale settings, each of the settings that you have is different depending on the. Okay, sorry. Okay, I will take a look afterwards at the question of Vigilantia. Okay, let's stick to this one first. When you go in the settings of a point of sale, you have somewhere the possibility to put the weight scale, I think. Okay, let's look for it here. No, it's not weight scale, the name. Which one it is? Let's look. I think I'm not so far, but it's not there. It's funny. I know the setting is existing, but here I don't see it. What does it mean? I will just maybe go to a runbot, see if it's different or not. Maybe just the setting is in a different place now. I don't know. So let's go back to the point of sale app. All right, and here, no, it is not. Okay, you know what? When I'm stuck like this, what I like to do is to look at the documentation always. And what happens is that you have a very nice documentation about the Odoo POS hardware setup that we, let's say, recommend for any person willing to use a point of sale in a shop or restaurant. And in one of them, you have this way scale. Yeah, that's a bit different. that you have. And here, if you go to the documentation, you know indeed how to do it. And what happens is that you need to connect a scale to an IoT system using an USB cable, okay, so that you make it connected to the database. And here it just shows for some specific model, that recommend what should be done in terms of actions, okay. So it's something to be done from the IoT app, okay. So indeed that's there. Now to answer your question, let's say to connect it to different shop. I guess your shop are not all located in the same place, or maybe they are. It's a good question. I don't know. It's just something that I never faced. I don't know if you had, let's say, two different cashier, two different place, in your shop to make it with two different weighing scale. Is it so, that you indeed? How can you make sure that you are referring to the right scale, when you are making your order? It's a good question. Actually, I don't know. And it's complicated for me to test it over there, because I don't have, of course, the setup to do it. But still, it's a good question. Maybe the thing is that I cannot really make a follow-up on that, but try to maybe keep your question and ask it at the Odoo experience if you want, because that's still interesting. But yes. But no, I know. Of course I know. Okay, I think I know, because what happens is that if you are, let's say, on one specific cache, then you are connected with a USB cable to the IoT, and the IoT is connected at the same time to the scale. So that's how the choice is made. Okay. So as long as you connect the scale to the IoT, and the IoT is connected to your computer, then of course it's going to select the one that is connected with your computer. So that's probably something that you can do like this. But yes, it's very complicated to discuss that, without having a setup to test it. But yes, and of course if the shops are in completely different place, then that's even more easy, because you will have some different network and different network. So there will be no confusion. But indeed, it doesn't seem to be a place in the settings of the point of sale where you can select the one that you are willing to use, to weight your products. All right. So yes, about Vigilantia. So you were saying, yes. In fact, no. Okay, I didn't know. I thought you were giving more precision about the CPAC. Yes, you did. Yes, it is possible to use Stripe as a payment processor to do the CSDD in vente mode payment. Yes. But I mean, let's try to look. If I look here at the payment provider, you have indeed Stripe, which is part of the list. What you're saying is that here you should get an availability. Is it possible to use Stripe? The payment processor to do the SDD in vente. I don't really know. Maybe I will skip that question, because I might not have maybe the right information to provide you with. Okay, but still, your second question: is there any server actions available when you are using the SaaS? We would like to trigger a license activation system when selling a digital product. I don't know if the server action is a good wording for that. Actually, I see that we are. Okay, that's a very nice joke. Someone has changed the background of my database. Okay, we'll end with your question, Vigilantia. Okay, because I think we run out of time. But here, about your question, yes, is there any server actions available when you are using the SaaS? We would like to trigger a license activation system when selling a digital product. Well, it's really, if we take the example of Odoo, like the fact that we use Odoo for internal purpose, and the fact that you can indeed purchase a license on odoo.com and then make it start. I mean, you need to investigate what kind of license it is, or yes, what should it process, as an information. maybe what you just want is to have a sub, a subscription starting today for a certain period of time, and as it is running, that the customer has a valid license. Maybe you want something else. It really depends. On SaaS, you can indeed have some server action, but you need to know what you want to do with it. And so here it's not so obvious based on your question. But yeah, same. We need to understand why. What do we want to trigger exactly? What kind of actions based on the license activation? But for example, in Odoo, to get back to it, we had to customize it. We had to develop a specific system, that is not available in standard, just to make sure that people have some license, that they can use for database. That's something that is completely specific, and that could be the same for you if you are willing to make some very precise actions in your case. Well, okay, I think we are done for today. So thank you very much for all of your questions. It was really interesting and very interactive. I appreciate, and it was, as I said, a very nice birthday gift that I gave to myself. So, well, see you soon, guys. Maybe some of you will be at the Odoo experience once again, and if you are there, don't hesitate to reach out and to discuss with us or with the team, with me or with the team, at the different booth. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.